is for everybody to join us. Everybody needs to join us, moving beyond words to action. And that's what this bill that we will be tabling is all about. So on that note, I'm going to pass it to Mustafa, and then we'll take any questions that folks might have. Mustafa?
Thank you, Andrea. My name is Mustafa Farouk, and I am the CEO of the National Council of Canadian Muslims. Today, I am pleased to join the leader of Ontario's NDP, Andrea Horwath, as she commits to working with us to bring forward a piece of model legislation called the Our London Family Act. I'm here today so that I do not have to be here again. I'm here today because I shouldn't have to be. I'm here today because in the last 16 months, we've had 5 people killed by murderers who are allegedly motivated by Islamophobia and white supremacy. I was there on the night that Mohammed Aslamzadeh was killed in front of the IMO Mosque in Etobicoke on September 12th, 2020. I didn't know Mohammed Aslamzadeh that well. I met him during the summer of 2020 when he was handing out food to the needy. He was a man who thought that I might need some food. I was wearing sweatpants on that day. And so he called me, kindly greeted me, and tried to take care of me. That was the kind of man that Mohammed Aslamzadeh was. He was a man who insisted on bringing good to others. Only a few months later, I was back at the IMO, and this time I came to find the body of the man that I had just started to become friends with. I will never forget the flashing lights, the confusion, what it meant to see the community crowd around the place that they called home. And too many beautiful folks have been taken from us in the last year. I can't say the names of the London family because it's too painful. But I'm here today because the time for change is now. It is not tomorrow. It cannot exist as a platform promise. Ontarians are getting killed because of Islamophobia, and that needs to stop. Today, we are here to talk about the Our London Family Act. When I was reflecting on what led us here today, I cannot help but think about family. I think about my son. I think about his baby blue eyes, his smile, a smile that I swore to protect. This draft legislation is for my son. It is for a boy who is growing up now in London without a father. It is for a woman in Etobicoke who is now serving and surviving without her father. This is for all the children. This is for all of the adults. This is for our London family. Because we would do anything to protect our families. And that is why we are proud to stand beside Leader Horwath today, a commitment I will also make to offer to every leader of every political party that I will stand with them. The Our London Family Act, a draft piece of model legislation, proposes key and common sense changes to the way that we challenge Islamophobia in Ontario. There are 6 key premises of the Our London Family Act. Firstly, the Our London Family Act would introduce changes in our educational system. This was a call that we heard across the province. As we see a rise in Islamophobia, we need to make sure that young people are growing up with educational resources to help them understand and confront Islamophobia. Secondly, we are calling for a dismantling of white supremacist groups in the province. The Our London Family Act, if introduced and passed, would prevent white supremacist groups from registering as societies and would further serve to prevent acts of intimidation on provincial property, as well as intimidate worshippers at synagogues, mosques, and gurdwaras. Thirdly, the Our London Family Act, if introduced and passed, would enshrine a provincial hate crimes accountability unit. Fourthly, the Our London Family Act would bolster the scope and strategy of the Anti-Racism Directorate. Fifthly, the Our London Family Act would encourage far more minorities into the provincial public service. Lastly, the Ontario London Family Act would increase the limitation period for those seeking to file human rights claims in Ontario. Let us be clear. What is in this draft model piece of legislation, these are common sense changes. Every party in the aftermath of the London attack committed to action. Now, it's simply about political will. The proposed bill, the proposed act, is a culmination of what we heard in consultations with hundreds and hundreds of Ontario Muslims across this province. We need to see action. We need to see it now. We need to see this legislation entered, and we need to see it passed before the spring election. And as our three parties prepare for the election in the spring, our call is simple. No more violence. I can't keep showing up at funerals. Our communities cannot wait until after this election for change. We are calling on all our leaders across party lines. Let's work together to make change a reality. Thank you.